It's way back, and it's gone!
Welcome back to another live edition of the Couch GM podcast. I'm joined by Gavin and Chad from Up West Sports. We're going to talk all things Seattle Mariners, the hottest team in the American League right now, 9-1 over the homestand. We need to have like a number retirement every year at least, because obviously they showed out for Ichiro this weekend in Seattle, swept the Rays. We're going to get into what it looks like to potentially extend Josh Naylor and Randy Arozarena, and if the Mariners can make it happen. But before we get into that, before we start talking Mariners, make sure to check out baseballism.com. They're my go-to for all things baseball apparel. They have some awesome new Mariners gear. Make sure to use code CouchGM-15 for 15% off your apparel there. And if you didn't already know, I am a mortgage lender full-time. If you're looking to buy, sell, or refinance on the West Coast, it's my goal to assist all sports fans and athletes get into the home of their dreams. Make sure to reach out. And if you don't already follow these guys on Up West Sports, go check them out on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, you name it. They're putting out tons of great Northwest content as well, talking all things Mariners and also Cougars if there's any Coug fans out there. So first off, Gavin, Chad, how are you guys doing?
Doing well, man.
Feeling good after that 10-game stretch. My gosh, that was easily the best Mariners baseball I've watched in years. So yeah, feeling pretty good.
Is this the best Mariners team that we've seen? I mean, or at least that we've seen in our, in
my adult life, 100%. But that 95 through 97 team, how many Hall of Famers, did they have on it and everything?
If I was aware of what was going on at the time.
Fair enough. So it's up there. I will definitely say we are witnessing history with Cal Raleigh. I'll say that much for sure.
Yeah, I'd say best all-around team easily. I mean, talking about our hitting turning into number one offensive team in baseball overnight, it felt like just somebody flipped on a light switch, and our pitching continues to be above serviceable in all aspects of that part of our game. So yeah, super happy with where this team's at. I don't think there's been another Mariners team like it. So yeah, get excited, Seattle. We're playoff hunting.
And this is currently where the Mariners stand. They're 66-53. They are in first place in the wild card. They are 3 games above that last wild card team, which is currently the Yankees. They are currently, 0.5 games behind the Astros at the moment. The Astros and the Red Sox they're actually 1 game behind of the Astros right now. And the Red Sox and the Astros are in a series against each other. So it can go, it's kind of good no matter what for the Mariners. You're either going to gain some ground in the wild card or you're going to gain some ground in the division, but we'll have to keep a lookout for that. A couple other just random stats to go through on what this team is currently doing. Yesterday, Brian Wu tied Hall of Famer Juan Marchiol, I butchered their name, from back in 1968. The most consecutive games, 23 in a row with 6+ innings and 2 or fewer walks to begin a season in MLB history. Brian Wu is having one of the most under the radar, you could say. I mean, if Tarek Skubal wasn't doing what he's doing, Garrett Crochet, those guys, Brian Wu would be in the Cy Young contention at this point. Also, another starting pitcher, Luis Castillo. This is from Mariners PR Today. Luis Castillo has the lowest ERA in Mariners team history all time, with a minimum of 500 innings pitched with a 3.38. There's then a few, stars, legends tied for second, but behind him. And then you have George Kirby, Logan Gilbert right behind him. So any comments on the rotation at this point?
I mean, those are some great names to have up there. I love seeing a couple of guys in our rotation currently in that top 10. So that's pretty great. Luis Castillo too. It's like one thing to think about is like before the season even started, we are talking about trading him. I'm happy we held on to him. Yeah. And imagine if we didn't have him in our rotation, what that first half would have looked like. I mean, guys injured, guys out.
Even now,
he really even now.
Yeah.
I mean, he buoyed that rotation and been a true vet. And so it's fun. It's been fun to watch. Goes about his business the right way.
I'll capitalize on that and say we're still not seeing the absolute best. We saw what the best was over the past 2 years, or I guess 3 years, And now we've added Brian Wu in full time, and we're still missing Bryce Miller. We still haven't seen Logan Gilbert go multiple, stretches or, go on a handful of games where he's just on fire. And so I'm really excited to see what this team could do long run. And hopefully it all comes together right around the playoff time and knock on wood, but hopefully it all comes together right at that moment, as we've seen from teams in the past that just kind of create that energy towards the end of the season and bust out with it. I'm hoping that kind of turns a corner along with this offense that Chad talked about.
Logan Gilbert had the most innings pitched in all of baseball last year, and now he's having there's the injury things, and he just hasn't been able to go deep into games. If they're able to take that next step and really get into games, deep into games, that could be a huge step, especially in the playoffs. And then just a couple of the random stats. I mean, guys get on Julio every year, and the first half isn't always all that great, but second half Julio is here. And one of the stats is that Julio Rodriguez is the first player in MLB history with 20 plus home runs, 20 plus stolen bases in each of his first 4 career seasons. You could say what you want about him. He is, when he's at his best, he's a superstar, and he's doing something that has never been done in MLB history. And his power speed combo is unreal. So kind of working off of that, this is the entire Mariners lineup that we're looking at. And all these stats, these weighted runs created plus via Fangraph, these are all a year total. So it's not talking about this current hot stretch that the team is on. From top to bottom, I love this, how Dan slotted this out after the trade deadline. Arozarena at the top with the 135, Cal Raleigh 160, Julio with the 116, Naylor 128, Suarez 130. Although since joining the Mariners, he has a -2 weighted runs created plus. I want to hear your comments on that. He has like a 100 batting average. Jorge Polanco 119, Canzone 127, Crawford 114, and Cole Young even is above a league average via weighted runs created plus.
Yeah, talking about Suarez specifically, this is part of a potential casualty when you go through the trade deadline, and you kind of do what you have to do to try and win games. A little surprised to see him not, I guess, take off. Obviously, the vibes were immaculate when he left, and now they're back, and it seems like everything's on top there. Just hoping that he kind of turns a corner. But also, it's been 10, 11 games, or 10 days, I should say, since the trade deadline, 11 days since the trade deadline and everything. So still a lot of time. Well, enough time for him to kind of turn things around and add to it. But, even if he's playing down, the rest of the team has really gelled together. We've seen everybody else come together, and he is at the worst still a very, very much a threat in the lineup that you have to, really methodically pitch to. So I'd like to see him obviously turn a corner, but still worth the trade in my opinion. And I like to see it, how it kind of goes out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'd say, to piggyback on that, Gino's always been historically a streaky player. I know he's going to figure it out at the right time. It's just a matter of when. I think it's also just getting used to, yes, he's been in the clubhouse before, but there's different guys, different time, moving his family again. So I think just give it some time and we'll be fine. And you look at what's our weakness in the lineup? It's a young Cole Young, 103 WRC plus. So he's still above your average major league hitter. And I think what's the most important thing is you see him every single day. He improves every single game, marginal improvements. And that's what you want to see in any profession, even if it's not even sports. So it's really nice seeing a guy that takes his game to the next level where you don't always see that from professional athletes. And so, yeah, I'm really bullish on this offense. And that's something I don't think we've really said since 2001.
And you mentioned Cole Young. Get this. Since the start of August 1st, Cole Young is batting .313 with a .542 on base, a .313 slug. He has a 176 weighted runs created plus. Josh Naylor, since August 1st, has a .242 weighted runs created plus. Julio's at a 168, Randy at a 128, JP at a 126. And kind of working off of that, Gino has been cold since he came to the Mariners. Josh Naylor has been the exact opposite. He's been red hot. He's the first player in MLB history with 4+ home runs and 10+ stolen bases in his first 15 games with the franchise. Naylor has 4 home runs and 11 stolen bases. I believe the home run yesterday was his 5th home run with the team. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, we've shown it before. He's in like the third percentile in sprint speed, and yet he's leading the league in stolen bases since the start of August or something like that. And this is before, I believe, Gino got caught stealing to end this streak. But there was a 10-game streak for the Mariners where there was 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, and no caught stealing. They're the first team in MLB history to have a 10-game span with those stats and not being caught stealing, which is absolutely insane. We'll see if they can keep it up. But kind of working right off of this brings the question: what would it take to extend Josh Naylor and Randy Arozarena? Randy Arozarena has 1 more year under contract. He's going to be arbitration eligible for his final year next year. Josh Naylor is set to become a free agent. But my initial thought process, and Mariners fans all throughout Twitter and in the Mariners sphere are calling for Josh Naylor to be extended. And my thought process was back in 2022, the Mariners traded for Luis Castillo at the deadline. They were able to extend him September 24th before the start of the playoffs. They were able to capitalize on maybe a little under market value at the time because it's not competing with other teams in free agency. They were able to show him what Seattle is like, what the clubhouse is like with the guys in there. Luis Castillo liked what he saw. They were heading towards the playoffs and saw their trajectory and decided to sign that 5-year extension. Same thing with Josh Naylor. I feel like with the Mariners, he has Gino in the clubhouse, but he's able to get to know the rest of the guys, the city, kind of see where things are heading. And, in this tweet, I said 5-year deal. I think that's just kind of a starting point for him. So starting off with Josh Naylor, initial thoughts on him as a player, if you would want to extend him, what that might look like, how long would you extend him for? What are your initial thoughts on that topic?
Yeah,
I mean,
first of
go
all,
ahead,
shout
Gav.
out known bag stealer, Josh Naylor. That was it's been absolutely phenomenal just seeing him steal bags. And I'm wondering if there's not. I wonder if Eric Young isn't just that good at working in with the guys at first base. If Dan just knows, hey, we're gonna go. It's gonna be an off-speed pitch here. Get your lead, UCLA, whatever you call it, and go. But whatever is working for the whole team, and especially Josh Naylor. He's really bought into it. So first of all, shout out to him for coming in and just, getting the job done. But I feel like every day I see something on Twitter or something somewhere where he is getting early work in. The guy is determined. The guy is just another level of hitter that, I mean, we've probably seen other guys get early work in a lot, but really he embraced this. And maybe he's not smiling all the time, but he's really embraced this from kind of a different standpoint where he's like, I'm here to win a World Series. I think that's his determination. That's the way he's driven to. And so when you get a guy like that, and also his success in Seattle, I get it. It's August. Everyone can be successful here in August, but when you see this level of success, so impactful to the game, especially deep. We haven't even talked about his defense. He's been making crazy plays at first. This guy's, yeah, you got to lock him in. And what does that look like as far as a long-term deal goes? Yeah, it starts with a 5 and it starts with a 100. And I think that's where the conversation, starts to, go north from. If I was a betting man, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 for 110 mil. Maybe about 115 to beat out another team because he might make it there. If he doesn't make it, if we do a Luis Castillo where we end up, talking to the agent gets everybody on board and it's September 24th and we can strike a deal, then yeah, it's probably 5 for 120, somewhere in that range. But yeah, I wanted to give him a big shout out and he is absolutely a key factor for you moving forward into 2026 and beyond.
No, yeah, you nailed it, Gavin. And I know when we first got together, 2 weeks ago, and that trade happened, we were talking about it, and I just felt like it had that Castillo trade kind of vibe to it. And Jerry, he's talked and voiced about how when he makes these kind of trades, he wants to sign, develop, then trade, right? And if they're going to trade, they want to trade for assets that can continue to play on the team. So you have to imagine that there's a vision there where long term, Naylor's definitely in that long-term trajectory over the next 5 years on this team, especially if you look in the minor league system. So no doubt we're going to try. If we can do it, I'm not certain. You look at next year, free agency, if I'm Naylor, if I want to capitalize on the amount of money I want to make, free agency might be a place to go. I mean, if Pete Alonso ends up sticking with the Mets, which I don't know if I think he's going to try to get another extension because I think it was just a 2-year deal with opt out after this season. So I feel like, I mean, you look at other players that are going to be available in free agency. There's not much. So it'll be tough, but I think that's going to be a guy that you have to open up the pocketbook for. And you look at what we're going to be giving up. I mean, what we're going to be losing from payroll perspective between Garver and you have a few other guys coming off. Why am I drawing a blank on it right now? But Haniger, yeah, to 17 million from Haniger, like that's a big number that you can pull from, and it's a no-brainer. So
absolutely. And yeah, when I posted a photo saying, hey, we got to, that same photo that I popped up saying, hey, we got to extend Josh Naylor to a 5-year deal, people started commenting, 5-year deal? What? Like, the guy is 28 years old. He doesn't turn 29 until July of next year. He's in the prime of his career. He is heading into his first year of free agency. So if you're going to try to extend him, you have to be competitive, obviously, because he's looking to maximize. This is going to be potentially the biggest contract of his career moving forward. And he's a guy with a track record going back to 2022, 118 weighted runs created plus, 2023, 127, 2024, 118, this year, 128. He's consistently been 18 to 28% better than the average league hitter year over year. And as you guys have described already, and what we've seen on the broadcast and in the games, he brings everyone else up. Like, he's encouraging everyone to play to their true potential. Like, if Josh Naylor can be the leader in stolen bases, I mean, imagine what the rest of the team can do. And what we've heard from him in interviews is that he is dialed into every pitch in all of the games. He's wanting to see all of the little movements that the pitchers are doing, like how they're approaching guys, how he can anticipate when he gets his time at both at the plate and on the bases with timing. I mean, it's just so many levels. And as you guys described, I think like 5 years in the range of 22 to 25 per year is realistic. My first number was 5 for 100, but then I started consulting the ChatGPT and also looking at other contracts. And I mean, it makes sense that he would be commanding more in the 22 to 25 range. And then also thinking of recently signed first baseman and what that would look like. So some recent extensions that we saw, or recent signees for first baseman, as we know, Christian Walker this past year signed a 3-year, $60 million contract with the Astros, which is an average of 20 per year. He was a 120 weighted runs created plus on average before he signed that extension. Rhys Hoskins, he was coming off of an injury, but he signed a 2-year, $34 million contract, which is kind of a prove-it contract, 17 per year. But he had a 125 weighted runs created plus. And then Cody Bellinger, he's not just a first baseman. Obviously, he plays outfield also. He's a bit more versatile, but he ended up signing a 3-year, $80 million contract with the Yankees. So realistically, Josh Naylor's probably going to get in the 5-year range. He's going to demand that at least. And you would think that he's going to be somewhere in the 20 to 25 range. Did you guys also hear the stat that he has, what was it, 75 pairs of custom cleats, and he has 450 pairs of shoes at his house, and he bought his wife 250 pairs of different shoes, and she doesn't even like shoes?
Guy's got swag. Also, I think his wife is I think she's a recording artist. I think she's actually
oh, really?
She's famous herself. I think I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
He was wearing mismatched Kobe's cleats in yesterday's game.
Sounds like he needs some kind of shoe label or something. Somebody hook him up. Find a way for him to stay in Seattle. That'd be great.
And was it you guys that called him out as the big grumper?
Well, that was something I heard on 710. I'm not sure
that was
exactly.
Definitely circulating, and I've definitely hammered that one home as well. But yeah, the big grumper. It makes too much sense.
He just got a serious tone to it, but like, I don't know, he completely different player than Ichiro, but I think it's just really, he goes about his business the right way. And the way he does it is just through actions. Like, that's just what's going to speak a lot louder in a clubhouse, just seeing a guy do it, then have success to follow. So I just feel like it's super contagious and it's something you can't let go.
And kind of speaking to the early work stuff with Josh Naylor, it sounds like he doesn't like being in the cage with all the music going and all the commotion, and also being limited to his reps to where, they get 5 swings and they have to move. He wants to be able to take his time and work on what he needs to work on, and then, just be ready for the game. So that's why he's out. He does the early work, but he doesn't do the regular batting practice. So just really interesting guy. I told you guys before that, like, when he was on the Guardians, I wasn't a fan of him just because he was always he looks like he's angry, and he's super passionate and just fired up, and he was always, he was coming through in the clutch, and he was like, showing off when he was coming through. But again, him being on the Mariners definitely has a different feel to it.
I'm excited to see him do some cradle rock, and if we do that, like if we have a walk-off home run against the Astros, I'm fired up to see a little bit of this.
Please.
Yes. Sign me up.
So, okay, we got the Josh Naylor. Realistically, 5 years, 110 to 125, 22 to 25 per year. That gets you your first baseman. There's no other big prospect coming up through the system that is specifically a first baseman. We just traded Tyler Locklear. Obviously, there's a speculation like maybe Lazaro Montes long-term is going to be a first baseman. Some fans are calling for Cal Raleigh to be at first base. I don't think that should happen. I guess what are your initial thoughts on, Josh Naylor at first base for the long term, or maybe save that for someone else that could be coming up and fill that?
Well, yeah, if you're going to extend Josh Naylor, he's playing first base and only first place. He's picking the ball really well, plays good defense, good leader. We've talked about it, but kind of to that Cal Raleigh comment, I know I've seen that too. And I think long term, it does make sense to get him out of the catcher role on a daily basis in some kind of way. And I think that's going to be through the DH role. I think that's where we're going to start seeing it more and more. And talking about like prospects that are coming up next, Harry Ford's waiting in AAA, just destroying the PCL. He looks ready. I think it's just a matter of time and having a spot for him. Garver's kind of in the way at the moment, but I think I'm just really happy too that we didn't trade Harry Ford, because next year looks like a great role for Harry and Cal to really split that catcher role, and Cal playing a little bit more DH than he usually does. And I don't, that's not out of disrespect to Cal and his defense. He's a platinum gold glove winner. Like, he's great at what he does, but also his bat, he's statistically the greatest first baseman to ever hit at this point in time in this short amount of time of his career. So I think it's one of those things where if you're John Stanton, if you're Jerry Dipoto, and you're talking about the long term of your team and a proven leader that you want to keep around playing a long time, then you need to find DH spot for him. But first base, I think I'd rather go the Naylor route, just because defense is very important to this team, and I don't know what Cal could do at first base, and I think I'd rather just go get a proven guy.
Yeah. An interesting stat here. I'll just say this real quick. Cal Raleigh this year, as a DH, he has a 198 batting average, a 302 on base, a 771 OPS. As a catcher, he's batting 262, 370 on base, over 1,000 OPS. And right now, as you can see, he's getting like 2 DH days a week, potentially 3. Mitch Garver's filling in. Just looking at these splits, I didn't look him up until right now. He does prefer to catch, even from an at the plate perspective.
Yeah. I actually had this discussion with another one of our co-hosts, Kyle, before the season had gotten kicked off. Hey, if you move him off of catcher and just have him DH, does that mess with his pregame, his routine, his, the mental side of the game? Does it take him off of his game? And you're seeing a little bit of it right now. Obviously, the numbers aren't the greatest as a DH, but you got to also just think long term, and hopefully that's something that you can kind of work with or work with him on. Hey man, on your DH days, we got to find a routine that works best for you. We got to get you into the zone, whatever the case may be. Because also before the season had gotten kicked off, I was also in the boat of, okay, you got Harry Ford that can potentially move the needle. After this draft, you also drafted 3 college catchers that are all actually kind of good. I like Luke Stevenson, but I'm very high on Grant J. I think he might fly up through there. You also got Josh Karen, who could move the needle down the road as well. There's a lot of internal options that could help out down the road, but I was in favor of potentially down the road looking at him also moving to first base before Josh Naylor, because you got Perry Hill. Now I don't know how much longer you're going to have Perry Hill in the dugout and everything, but the guy's awesome. The guy's been working with the infield, and he's turned a lot of good infielders to great infielders and a lot of bad infielders to good infielders. He's done just a phenomenal job. So I was also just kind of looking at that. But now that you have Josh Naylor, yeah, it's like if he's not catching, it's DH, and just give his full body a rest. And then later in his career he can become the new Edgar and kind of move there. But that was my plan before Josh and then after Josh.
And I still think there's a place where Harry Ford plays a lot of DH too. So I don't think it's something we really see a lot of next year. I think it could be 2 years out from really seeing that change. But yeah, time will tell.
Yeah, I think realistically next year, obviously Mitch Garver, they're not going to pick up his mutual option, so that's potentially $10.5 million that's off the payroll for next year. There's a $1 million buyout, but then you call up Harry Ford. You have Harry Ford be the catcher 3, even 4 days a week if you really want to start to conserve Cal Raleigh as much as you can. Cal Raleigh can catch and DH 3-4 days a week as well. I think that would be a great mix, and then you could have Harry Ford be the DH on the days that he's not catching. I think that'd be a natural fit. Excited to see that. But then separate to Josh Naylor, there's another guy in Randy Rosarena who's in left field, who is like the best left fielder in baseball right now. Randy Rosarena leads MLB left fielders in Baseball Reference wins above replacement, ranking first in stolen bases with 21, tied for first in runs scored with 66. Also, a fun stat. This is from about a week ago. Randy Rosarena's 8 game tying home runs leads MLB this season and are 3 home runs more than the next closest. I mean, Randy Rosarena, he's been the best left fielder in all of baseball this year. He has 1 more year of arbitration. Realistically, he's going to be in the $15 million range next year. He's a guy that you could seriously consider to have in your outfield for the long term. You have Randy Rosarena in left field. You have Julio Rodriguez in center field. Victor Robles is coming back. You got Dominic Canzone. There's Luke Raley. There's tons of options in right field. But Randy Rosarena, what are your initial thoughts? Would you extend him now? Do you wait until next year at some point or after next year?
I'll give you 2 answers. The chat answer is yes, extend him now. That makes a ton of sense. He's a great ball player. Looking at our ownership and how we do business, I see him as a guy that they're going to ride out to the end of his contract, and they're going to be looking internally to fill that role, unfortunately. But I think there's a lot to say about Randy. He's definitely a guy that's a man of the people, throws like 20 balls in the stand every game.
Yeah.
Really love how he plays the game. He plays it so hard. So it's one of those guys you feel like he's somebody that people really feed off of during the game. So it'd be tough to really replace that. I don't know if there's anybody on the roster outside of really Naylor that does that for me, and Julio, and Cal. So I mean, there's a lot of good players on the team that do it, but I think Randy's really that guy that's the man of the people, and so it'd be tough to lose him. But I just don't know if we pay that kind of money.
Yeah, and it's a tough one. But you found a guy that can hit in Seattle, that's loved in Seattle, that it looked like when we traded for him a year ago, he was not struggling. Struggling is not the right word, but he was, having trouble adapting to the new situation.
He's pressing.
And everything. He's pressing,
swinging at
and
everything.
also just like it's a new area. He's never been here, and just kind of get up and go. And you saw it like take its toll on the game. And now you see him could just completely buy into the city of Seattle. So I'm going to go with the Gavin answer and then also the realistic answer as well. The Gavin answer is get it done now. But also I get it. Like just knowing what we've seen as fans and knowing what we've seen as much as we can behind the scenes with this ownership group and with this with this front office, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to navigate everything we have. If you get him, somebody else is going to have to go. It may be Luis Castillo. It may be trading George Kirby. I'm not saying I'm in favor or not. I'm just saying it could be something has to give for all that to make sense, unless the payroll just happens to bump up to like 200 million. And we operate at that budget for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening. I'd love to see it happening, especially in a window. And it was really cool to see Cal Raleigh have that conversation. I think Mentink and the rest of the crew were talking about it. The Ichiro game, they were talking about Cal and how important it was to have the conversation with the front office and saying, hey, if I resign here, what's your plan? Like, I'm here to win. What is your plan? How do you plan on winning? How do you plan on doing this? Because he said that stuff a couple years ago, and it was heartfelt. He wants to win. He wants to know that they're invested in winning. And it seems like there might be a slight budget change. I just don't know how much. And it's a window. It's a window that Cal said we are in, and I couldn't agree more. I think the window started a couple years ago, and we should have capitalized a couple years ago. But here we are. I can't be mad at what they're doing right now. We could just only hope that moving forward, they operate at a little bit higher clip and really try and go in, because there's no guarantee of a World Series. But if you give yourself a couple years to really have this team molded, and especially with what you have coming up, we have, I think it dropped today with all the top prospects, and we have 8 or 9 guys that are in there. And they're not even including, I know Baseball America isn't even including Felon Celestin. And then the other MLB is not even including Nikki Becker, which as soon as you start to see that kid play, I guarantee you he's going to crack the top 100 over the next year or two. So I'm excited about the future. But yeah, I guess to wrap that up in a bow, whatever it takes to get Arozarena and hopefully, evolve the budget a little bit. That's where I'm at.
Do you think it'd be something where if you were, let's say you have a certain constraint within how much you can pay a guy, but looking at he's 31, right? When his contract ends. So looking at like maybe they would offer 3-year 23 per, somewhere in that ballpark. I'd be curious how that compares that. Maybe like a Cody Bellinger. What was his average per
Cody was
year?
3 for 80, which is like
3 for 80.
26, something like that.
So maybe
That's
that's something maybe we'd have to look at, and I'd be willing to bet that's probably what the Mariners would offer.
I would love that also, because I mean, I would love that. Yeah, if he would take that, that's the question. Because I mean, when you look at Randy, he is the definition of consistency throughout his career. And when you look at the left field position, you're paying for the bat. Like, you could place anyone out there in left field. You don't need them to be a stellar athlete. Like, they just have to be able to hit the cutoff, basically. But Randy, starting in 2019, 139 weighted runs created plus, then a 177, 127, 124, 125, 114, and then this year 135. Year over year, every year of his career, he is consistently a 20 to 30% above the league average hitter. And that's all that you're paying for when you're paying a left fielder. It's only his bat, and he does exactly that. He's consistent. Obviously, the clubhouse guy, the fan guy. Just whether you're willing to pay in the 22 to 26, depending on how long of a contract you want to go. And then that also keeps, weighs down the potential prospects that are coming up. But then it's like, yeah, if you could get him on a 3-year deal, then you get the consistency for those years. And then you could work in the Lazaro Montes or the Johnny Formello and those various other guys into the outfield, start getting them reps. And then by the time that they're producing, his contract is up. Yeah,
I think Bob has a really good point too. I noticed he just posted like a lot of financial decisions regarding our young pitching coming up. Andres Munoz, I think he's got 2 years left of arbitration left.
He's got
Kirby
so it's
and
actually
Logan too.
Club options for $6, $8, and $10 million.
Okay,
which they're going to pick up.
Yeah,
gotta pick up.
obviously, got a lot of pitching to pay too.
Pitching is, and I think that's, 2-3 years from now, we're probably looking at maybe 3 of these guys that are still here. And hopefully by that time, Cade Anderson is Cade Anderson, and he moves at that clip. Yeah, and Ryan Sloan's starting to, creep up there as well. And then you also have potentially next year's draft that could produce another arm if you so, see one that fits. So yeah, I'm hoping that that can be answered, but also it's like, all right, where are we at with all this stuff? Where's everybody going to be? And who's going to get the axe? Because I really don't see everybody staying. Um, and my gut's telling me that George Kirby's probably going to be moved, but I don't know exactly what that looks like right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I don't know, not try to. I just feel like Jerry's plans coming together with those waves of players that continue to come in. And what we're talking about are good problems to have. So I feel like the long term winning and longevity, a healthy team of winning, I just feel like it's going to be consistent. Is if you look at those waves that are going to be coming over the next few years. So I feel like our leadership and ownership have been doing it right. Not always necessarily opening up the pocketbook, but they've been doing it in a smart way. Give them that.
So just looking at the rotation, you have Luis Castillo, who is 24 plus $1 million per year through 2027. There's a 2028 vesting option or vesting. Yeah, vesting if he throws, I believe, 180 innings in 2027. Then you have Logan Gilbert, who's going to be heading into his second year of arbitration next year. He's predicted to get in the 12 to $14 million range. George Kirby is heading into his second year of arbitration next year, $8 to $10 million range. Bryce Miller is still a pre-arbitration or potentially Super 2, which means that he's in the top 22% of service time with guys that are less than 3 years, which would make him arbitration eligible a year early. So he might be around $3 million. Then you have the cheap guys, which are Emerson Hancock, Logan Evans. You then got Cade Anderson, who are going to be on the super cheap deals. So if you were to get crazy, if John Stanton actually pulls out his checkbook, he signs Josh Naylor to an extension. He signs even Randy Rosarena to an extension. That's potentially $45 to $50 million added to the payroll. But then if you were to take off 24 of Luis Castillo for the next 2 years, 3 years that are left on his deal, because you have Logan Gilbert, who would then be potentially your ace or at least your highest paid pitcher. You got George Kirby, Bryce Miller. I didn't even mention Brian Wu. He's pre-arb still. And then you have Cade Anderson. Like you could trade 2 of those starting pitchers if you wanted to and still be A-okay.
And I guess the other thing to address in all this is you can finally go into an off, like let's say you do have to axe, Luis Castillo because of his financial burden, or I guess it's not a burden. He's still pitching really well. But let's say that's one of the keys. Then you can address that with, one of those $10 million off-season pickups, and then hopefully they can come in, and that's where you actually cash in the offseason to help kind of the back end, and hopefully Logan Gilbert stays at the top with Brian Wu. So you have two guys at the top, and then everybody else is trying to fill in. You don't know if it's going to be George Kirby at number 3. Maybe somebody else slides into that spot. And then obviously over the next couple of years, you have Cade Anderson, hopefully, filling in that as well. But if you need somebody, because we don't have too many people right now at the top, you could talk about Michael Morales, maybe. There's a couple other names.
Ryan Sloan is going to be, insane.
Well, I just meant in Double A, Triple A right now
Right.
that you could see up within the next year. Ryan Sloan, I still think, he's probably.
How soon do you think Durangelo? He's in Arkansas now.
He is, and he's moving quick, and he could touch the surface by next year. There's some concerns with how well I think he does at the top currently. And I'm not trying to I think he has great stuff. I want to at least, get that on record and say I'm a big fan of Durangelo. I actually went on today because I saw Trey Savage and his numbers, and he was available when we took Senja.
Right.
I love Senja, and I love what he has to give. I'd like to see his left-handed numbers are just not the greatest, and I'd like to see him just be a right-handed starter. This is just my hot take. I'd like to see him just be a right-handed starter and then just come in midweek and be a left-handed relief pitcher and see what that does. See if he can separate and attack the two, on two different wavelengths, and just try and develop that way. If he keeps going back and forth and we keep seeing the same numbers, you're probably going to see the same stuff, at the top. That's my assumption. But there's still something very, very, very much to like about Senja, and you could see him surface up by next year, I think.
It's pretty funny with his development because even in Arkansas, I believe his first game, he struck out a batter lefty on lefty, and then up came another lefty, and he goes from the right side and strikes him out. I mean, it's like it doesn't matter. The handiness with the batter doesn't matter. They're just trying to work both arms and work him in. Like it doesn't matter. They're just trying to get a certain amount of reps. Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, hearing Hollander talk about his training plan and development when he was first, drafted was super interesting. So super high upside guy, whether or not it's realistic, if he goes from both sides. But yeah, when his from the right side, he's up to 99. I mean, that's top end starter. If you have Durangelo, Ryan Sloan, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, Cade Anderson in 27, 28, I mean, that's just the longevity of this franchise. I don't know if it's ever been in a better spot.
Yeah, that part we were talking about historical teams and is this the best team? Where we're at currently and where we're like kind of looking to go, this is the best I've ever seen the Mariners, and including that complete or what did Jerry call it in 2019? It wasn't a rebuild, it was a reframe or something like that, retool, or I can't remember what he
Reset.
A reset. Reset. But when we had all those top prospects and Julio and Jared Kelenic and Kyle Lewis was still emerging, we're in a better spot than that. And you see what the team's doing at the top. So yeah, we're in a very comfortable spot, and I like it.
If you're on the live stream, let us know your thoughts on signing Josh Naylor, signing Rainier Arozarena. If you would trade Luis Castillo to take off his contract, how you would get creative with this lineup, what prospects you think are going to come up sooner than later that can actually contribute to the team. We have Bob here from X, which states Josh Naylor is an absolute must to be extended in the coming weeks. We definitely agree. He also mentioned a ton of money coming off of the books. He says around $40 million coming off of the books this year. So if you take 40 off, obviously arbitration is going to go up for various guys, but then you have room for $50 million with 225 per year contracts. I don't know.
Yes, Bob.
Add in the added revenue from going to the playoffs. I think it's affordable, but it's not my money.
Yeah, some home games in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? Some home games in the playoffs would be nice. What was that 18-inning game, 16-inning game that we had a couple years ago against the Astros? Electric. Absolutely electric. No one left.
I had my shoe on my head the whole second half of that game.
I stood right in the bullpen behind the catcher for all, what was it, 18 innings? All 18 innings, I was standing right there in the bullpen.
Yeah, I had 4 Seattle dogs in just the extra innings.
Imagine doing the 999 challenge, and then you're like, oh, well, they do cut off beer sales and food sales after the 7th inning, so we didn't have anything after the 7th inning, so you couldn't end up buying 18 beers.
Yeah, that's well, it sucks.
I've got my stories, but I'll leave it off the air.
Oh yeah, well, we're off the air,
Now, I want to get a little deeper, even thinking a year beyond next year. Like, let's say, okay, whatever happens with Josh Naylor, with Randy Arozarena, but then after 2026, what does that team look like? Well, with 2027, JP Crawford's $11 million contract comes off the books as well. So you assume that he's going to be replaced by Colt Emerson at that point. I guess backing up, one more question before we get into this. Eugenio Suarez contract extension. We didn't talk about that. I personally would not sign Gino just because of where he's at in his career. He's batting like 100 since he came back to Seattle with a negative weighted runs created plus. That's not all of it, but he's an aging player, potentially declining part of his career. You have a third baseman in Ben Williamson that is ready to go, Gold Glove type defense. He just got to get there with the bat. What do you guys think with Gino? Would you bring him back for a year, 2 years? Not bring him back?
It just depends. I mean, see what Josh Naylor does. I know the Red Sox were looking at Gino for first base. So if we can't get Josh Naylor, Gino at first base doesn't sound terrible, at least compared to what's out there in free agency and what we have in the minor leagues. So I could see Gino coming back. I don't necessarily see him signing him to be a DH just because what we talked about earlier with Cal probably going to transition to more and more DH over time, or Harry Ford warranting an opportunity, and that's probably going to come at the age. So I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes.
I'll
I'm saying maybe.
I'll actually
Somewhere in the middle.
I'll piggyback off of that, and I'll also say I'd love to see him back. I don't think I'm not here to throw shade or any slander of
He
the
does
Geno
have good
kind.
vibes.
He has great vibes. He has great vibes.
like
If
those.
anything, he helps out that locker room or clubhouse just gel. He is the ultimate viber. But I think if you want to talk about what it looks like at his age, everything considered, and everything considered on the Mariners front office and just their budget and how they usually operate with that, if he'd be open to an incentive laden 3-year deal where it's like, hey, you're making a base of X amount of dollars, and I doubt he'd do that.
You have to hit 45 plus home runs for the option to vest.
55 or go home.
Stanton's offering that for sure.
But and usually when they do incentive based contracts, it's usually kind of huddled around plate appearances, as we've seen with Donovan Solano and some of those guys.
Polanco.
But yeah, I'd like to see like a base salary of maybe like 12 to 15 for 3 years, and then kind of also give an extra couple $1 million if he hits X amount of whatever they deem is important. If it's home runs, then put home runs into it. If it's RBI, put RBI into it. If it's doubles, put doubles. If it's carrying an X amount of slugging percentage, then put that in there. But or OPS, whatever they deem is important to their ball club. For me, it's home runs, because I feel like historically we just don't do well in the home run category, and I think that's where he can help out, especially with what he just did with this year coming off of 37 plus, hopefully plus home runs. Shout out William. He's always throwing stuff on my channel, man. Thank you again for always watching and tuning in. Really do appreciate it.
He says that Geno Spot Track has Geno at an average annual value of 11.3 and Naylor at an AAV of 16.5. If Naylor is 16.5, sign him tomorrow. I just think he's going to get more than that for sure.
Yeah, you look at competition for next year's free agency at first base. There's nobody unless Pete Alonso shows up in there. So, yeah, I'm going to take the over on that one. Probably on both.
Chat Network asks, would an extension for Geno be off the table? The answers so far are yes, no, or maybe. So we'll just have to see.
Flip a coin.
Flip a coin. How much?
And then, we also got Nervoso says you'll have Carver out the books. At least one of them is no brainer. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Randy Rosarena, like we also said earlier on, you could just play him through next year of the final year of arbitration. So sign Naylor now if you can, and then worry about Randy down the road. But then getting back to the 2027 projection. So JP Crawford's $11 million contract comes off the books. He would become a free agent. It's assumed that Colt Emerson is going to be the starting shortstop in 2027. Now just kind of brainstorming, like what if the Mariners were to extend Josh Naylor, if they did extend Randy Rosarena, just kind of walking through the diamond here. You got Ben Williamson at third base, Colt Emerson at shortstop, both on rookie contracts. Cole Young at second base as well on a rookie contract. You got Josh Naylor at first base. We're calling it $20 to $25 million per year. You got Randy in left field with the same type of contract as Josh Naylor. You then have Julio in center. You got Robles and Canzone in right field, as well as you could put Lazaro Montes. Pick your prospect in, Johnny Farmelo. We were talking Ty Pete, like where does he fit into things? You have Cal Raleigh and Harry Ford in the catcher spot and also the DH. You also have Lazaro Montes in that spot. You've got like the perfect mesh and balance of contracts with upside as far as like rookie deals all throughout the infield outside of Naylor. Then you have the experienced contracts in the outfield. You got Cal Raleigh, Harry Ford. And then there's the rotation, which obviously we've already gone through, but the upside is sky high, especially for the next 5+ years. Any thoughts on like which I guess another question, like who's the first big prospect not named Colt Emerson or Harry Ford that comes up and makes an impact on the big league roster?
Laz. That's I'm gonna stick with Laz. To me, in this organization, provides you with something that not too many prospects. I mean, you can go back through the years and you can tell me Alex Liddy was going to hit that many bombs at the big league level, but I don't know. Laz truly does have 40+ bomb type power. We just haven't seen that since Nelson Cruz, and we definitely haven't seen that from too many prospects over the history of just me being a Mariners fan. Laz is that guy that I think even if he bats 215 and gives you 35 to 40 bombs on a consistent basis, that is a huge impact on that lineup because he's a threat. And now you got the rest of your line. You got your Cole Youngs, you got your guys that get on base and do the other things right. The strikeout to walk ratio is good. You have your hitters that do that. And so Laz is one of those guys that really sticks out as somebody who adds a different element to your roster.
I agree with you on Laz. I think he has the highest upside out of anybody that's coming up. I think the highest floor, I'll go pitcher and hitter. I really like Michael Arroyo. Seeing what he's done in Double-A, continue to hit, hasn't really ran into too many speed bumps. I know he probably started out of the gates a little shaky, but he's really settled in. I don't know if second base is going to be his long-term position. Could see him as a corner outfielder at some point. And then Cade Anderson. I was really pumped to hear that the Mariners are not having him pitch much this year, and they're having him focus on gaining muscle. Because you look at him, he's pretty lanky. So I think seeing him add some muscle, being able to go deep in the game, staying healthy, I think he's a guy you could see second half of next year, no doubt. So I'm going to go with those two: Michael Arroyo, Cade Anderson.
Absolutely. Yeah, you put some LBs on Cade. I mean, that could be a couple ticks in velocity that are added right there. And then if you get spicy with it, you trade a starting pitcher at the deadline next year potentially, and Cade Anderson comes up and he's there the rest of the way. I don't know. Yeah, but I think he's a guy that you could definitely see next year at some point for sure. Looks like we lost Gavin, but there he is.
Oh, he's back.
All right. So closing thoughts. Any closing thoughts outside of what we've already covered here?
No, I mean, I think kind of just really reiterate what we've said is just like we have a lot of good problems as far as going into the next couple off seasons, what it looks like, long-term health of our team. I think we're gonna have a lot of winning seasons as Mariners fans, so it's fun. I mean, we went through the gauntlet of 20 years of no playoffs, so it's kind of fun to be talking about this now. Yeah, I feel really strong about, and also like just going into our next couple series, have a nice ramp up with O's. Mets right after that. They've been struggling a bit. I said that they had probably one of the better trade deadlines and they've done the worst. So Mets is kind of catching them at the right time. Hopefully we continue that sputtering out. And then really I'm circling like that Phillies series because Phillies before the season started were my World Series pick. I put money on that. So I'm excited to watch that, no doubt. So really that's just like the games that I'll be tuning in heavily, watching every single pitch is the 18th through the 20th. So looking forward to that. And I think that's really going to tell us what this team's going to be doing going into October.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, I wanted to give a shout out to Bonnie Lake Sumner Little League. The Mariners are going to be playing in that game out at Williamsport, and Bonnie Lake Sumner is representing Washington in the Northwest for playing out there against, So I want to give them a quick shout out as well. That was awesome to see them go. I think they're, I live like 10, 15 minutes away in Auburn. And so it was good to see them go. But I think final thoughts. I thought the window of 2021 when they started, they started to win 90 games just kind of out of nowhere. I thought that was kind of the window to capitalize, but this is truly the window to capitalize. And it's okay to, bust your budget for a couple more years and really just sell out for, at least one World Series, but continuously, you have the system, you have the You have the development for pitchers, as we've seen proven year in and year out. And honestly, they do just a phenomenal job with keeping guys healthy, knock on wood. But they do a really good job with whatever their training regimen is and however they go about doing that. They do a very good job of making sure that their guys are staying as healthy as possible. And so when you see that and you see this team doing what they're doing right now and the future of the Mariners as it kind of stands, with how well they are in the in all the top prospect rankings and everything, you really just got to think that this has to be the year that they bust the budget and they really go in for it.
Absolutely. And then here's the schedule one more time. Again, they're 9-1 the past 10 games, which was the homestand. They were 2-1 against the Rangers. They swept the White Sox, which they should do. Then they swept the Rays in a great fashion over the weekend. They're heading for 3 games at the Orioles. They then have that Little League series at the Mets. They have a 3-game series at the Phillies. That's going to be a tough road trip. And then they come back home for another series. And again, this is your current Mariners team. These are all stats that are on the year. This is the best Mariners team that we have seen in our cognitive lifetime when we've been aware of what's going on in the world. This is the best Mariners team that has been around at this time. And I mean, they're in a great spot. Jerry Dipoto, great job on building this thing, and Justin Hollander, the front office. And we'll see if John Stanton can pull out the checkbook and sign Josh Naylor, Randy Arozarena. Again, let us know your thoughts in the comments below on what you would do with either of those guys or which prospects are going to come up and perform. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to check out Gavin and Chad at Up West Sports, and we'll see you in the next one.
Out to center. This is cranked. It's